Welcome to another episode of The Profile. I'm Gary Dunn, and in the hot seat tonight we have Mr. ProCopy himself, Mr. Mark Whitehouse. How are you, Mark?
Hi, Gary. Good to see you, mate. Haven't seen you for ages.
Yeah.
Funnily enough.
Yeah, very funnily enough. So I'm going to be as quickly as possible with this because everyone keeps, for some reason, thinking you just waffle, right?
Mate, I'm the most concise person you'll ever meet.
Yeah. Well, we've got the mnemometer, which has now been changed to a what? A waffleometer.
Waffleometer.
A waffleometer.
Great. Thanks, mate.
That's all right. So,
This is 3 episodes, isn't it?
yes. So I usually start with, where were you born?
I was actually born in the UK,
Yep.
just outside of Birmingham, a place called Sutton Coldfield.
Yep.
Many people, I don't know if Jackie knows, but many people would know it was the Royal Borough of Sutton Coldfield.
It was too.
It was. It
I know
was
that.
a pretty special place.
Do you play an instrument?
Guitar.
Yep.
Yes, I learnt at the guitar school in Wellington Street.
All right.
Pam Bow, I think her name
Yeah.
was at the time.
Yep.
Yeah, that was just after we came out here.
So, what was your band?
We had a
What
band.
sort of music?
Well, oh, God.
You played in a band?
Yeah, we had a band. We came out here in 1969. We went back to the UK in 72. While I was at high school in the UK, we got together and formed a band,
Yeah.
as you do at that kind of age. And the band was called Etc. Don't know why. Just seemed to go on and on.
What was your band?
There's a
It says
bit of a
etc.
link there, you see.
I thought this was
Gary.
etc. etc.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, you thought you knew. No, makes sense now, doesn't it?
It does, etc.
So, yeah, that was our band. And we played everything.
Yep.
I mean, seriously, we played Lindisfarne stuff, who were very popular at the time.
Geordie band.
I know. We played Deep Purple, we played Black Sabbath, and this is in the day, this is 1975, so, you know, those bands were pretty popular at the time. So we played all that kind of stuff in those days.
75, you moved back to Perth?
At the end of 75, we moved back here, yeah.
And then you started doing sound. You were
Started
sick of being a musician already? Or?
Well, I finished high. I very quickly realised that playing guitar wasn't my forte. I struggled. I enjoyed playing it. I played a lot of rhythm guitar. In the band that I was in, we all swapped instruments. So we'd play, you know, you'd pick bass guitar for one song, and you'd play rhythm guitar, you'd play lead guitar for one.
That muddles up the lines of girls because there's a line of girls for the guitar player and there's a...
No, they were all in front of me.
Yeah. Even when you play
you
bass.
multiply your chances, don't you? By 3 if you play more instruments.
Yes.
But I very quickly realised, I came back here, I finished high school, I was at Morley High, and as you know, there was a couple of good musos there. There was Martin Cillier, there was Tony Cooper, and a couple of other people, and I think Martin had put an ad in the paper or at school for people to put a new band together, and I went to his place in Dianella, and we just mucked around on guitars and stuff like that. And very quickly I realised that while I enjoyed playing guitar, there was some people that it came very naturally to. And Martin was one of those. And I spent, to be honest, I spent more time putting the PA system together for our band, selecting amplifiers, buying instruments, and the technical side of it.
You enjoyed
at
that more,
point,
obviously.
I enjoyed the technical side of it very much. And after going for a couple of practice sessions at Martin's place, I kind of realised that, you know, this is a struggle for me. It doesn't come naturally to me. So I kind of put that aside for a while. I ended up at uni doing electronic engineering. And while I was doing that, I realised that even that was kind of giving me the shits a bit. And I got more involved at UWA in setting up the radio station there.
Yeah.
There was 2 or 3 of us that spent time recording acts to put on the radio station and things like that. I got more involved in that technical side of it, and I went hunting at the time for recording work, and there was a couple of studios around Perth. There was Planet, there was Sweet Corn Studios that was in Malcolm Street. And I went in to see Mal Demonish and Keith Cremont at Sweet Corn, and I was just questioning them, like, if I want to get into this, what do I need to do? And Keith was quite good, really. He turned around and said, well, you need technical knowledge. You need a bit of electronic knowledge. You need to know about sound. You need to know a bit about music. And I took all of that on board and decided that I'd go out and work with bands. So I did some live sound work. And then I thought I'd better get some technical knowledge. So I applied for an apprenticeship, and that was at Cosmic Sound.
Yeah.
So I spoke to John and I said, oh, look, I really want to do some electronic work so that I've got more knowledge about what I want to do. And I didn't hear from him at the time. That was back in the days of Cosmic being in Bentley and 1076 Albany Highway, I think it was at the time. It was next door to a Chinese restaurant. And I went on and I dropped out of uni, set up the radio station there, set up a recording studio in the Guild building. And at the end of that year, I decided to go back and do a year of music in arts. Did more stuff at the radio station, did more stuff at the studio. At about halfway through the year, I got a phone call from John and said, oh, you're still interested in doing an electronic apprenticeship? I said, yeah. He said, oh, okay, well, you know, we've got the space for it now. We've got the need for it. So I went down and I met Charles Blackburn and Phil Wellstead, who were in the service department. And this was underneath the floor in Albany Highway in the dungeon, and started doing the service work. I was doing one day a fortnight, I think, at Mount Lawley TAFE, doing electronics, which was great because it gave you the technical ability. I wish I'd done that instead of going to uni, to be honest, in the first place. And then at the same time, started getting gigs to do live sound work through Cosmic. So I'd be at the entertainment centre doing shows and things like that. So that was the start of all of that part of it.
So some of the first bands you did sound for, who would they have been?
One of the very first ones was a band called The Appliances, which was Dave Himes, Rob Anderson on vocals, John Maisel, and Billy Rogers, I think, was in that band on sax for a while.
The Taste of the Kettle and
yeah. And then after that shortly after that was a band called Sheriff. Yeah. Sheriff was Paul Felton, Bernie Lynch, Howie Johnson, bass player, I think, Bob something, can't remember. And that band played everywhere. Yeah. That was a really good band.
So what was the best Perth band you saw live?
What, at that time or from then till now? Yeah. Probably wasn't V Capri because I was working.
Someone's coughing rather loudly.
But, you know, there was two bands that I worked with that were exceptional, and they were kind of linked. There was Manteca, back in the days when the Windsor Hotel would get 600 to 800 people on a Saturday session. Phenomenal band, brilliant in every sense. Sounded good, played brilliantly. And the other band was probably the Oralettes, the world famous Oralettes that went up to, became resident up at Gobbles. But at the time it was called Hello Harrigan's for a while. Half of Manteca were kind of in the Oralettes, so still good friends to this day and exceptionally good musicians. I always enjoyed the kind of that part of it. Yeah.
So, the owner of ProCopy,
Don't know him.
We do all this filming, where all this started, the man who makes it all happen, right? Firstly, thank you from all of the 104 people that we've interviewed. I think you were number 105 or 106, can't remember.
Yeah,
but
maybe.
Look, thanks from everyone, from all of us.
Well, it's been a fantastic experience, actually, Gary.
Yeah. It has been, and we've met some wonderful people and heard some
and
great stories.
Retouch base with a lot of people. Yeah, it's good.
So, how did ProCopy start? Tell me about that.
Well, from that era where I was looking at recording work, after I'd spoken to Keith Cremond, I'd also spoken to Graham Owens around about that time, late 79, 80 probably. Graham and I seemed to have a similar sense of humour, so we got on pretty well. I continued on, finished my apprenticeship at Cosmic with the electronics, and at that point I felt that I needed more technical training in recording and stuff like that. I'd spoken to Graham in particular quite a bit, and I decided to take off to America for a while.
Yeah.
And I was in San Francisco probably close to 18 months. Most amazing experience from every aspect of it. You know, living in San Francisco was just fascinating, really. Even in those days, and we're talking 83, 84, I suppose, around about that time, you could see what Silicon Valley was all about. You could see the genesis of places like Apple. You could see IBM and companies like DigiDesign and that, which later became Pro Tools and all that. You could see the innovation that was taking place there. So I saw a lot of what was going on. And while I was doing the courses there, I used to catch up with John Goldsmith, and we'd go to a trade show in Anaheim or Chicago. And I came across a company that was doing high quality cassette decks for duplication work. And I hit it off with the people there. They were a family oriented business, but they were doing very, very high quality stuff. So after I finished the course, I got in contact with two people when I was on the way back. One was Alan Pithers, who'd been in the Oralettes. He phoned me on, I think it was the Thursday that I was flying back here, and he said, "Oh, when did you get back to Perth?" I said, "I'll fly Thursday night." He said, "Oh, can you start doing the sound for the band again?" And I'm like, "Well, when do you want?" He said, "Well, Thursday night would be good." I said, "Well, look, I haven't seen my girlfriend for 18 months.
Was that Carol?
That was Carol, yeah. I said, "I haven't seen my girlfriend for 18 months. Do you think I could start on Saturday night instead of Thursday night? Because I'll be in the shit." And he said, "Oh, yeah, if you must, you know." So I said, "Okay." And the other person that I spoke to was Graham. And Graham said, "Oh, when you get back to Perth," he said, "there's a position available at Planet Studios." And in the time that I'd been away, he'd moved from Murray Street and built Planet in Subiaco. You know, the best studio this side of Melbourne. No shadow of a doubt. It was a phenomenally good studio, world class actually. And so I came back here, and within a short period of time was back at was working at Planet and doing service work, which I'd done beforehand, and doing my live sound work as well, which I enjoyed. I brought back that knowledge about the cassette decks with me as well. And while I was working at Planet, very quickly I realised that there was a problem with what was happening here. Bands would come into the studio, they'd record a bunch of stuff, world-class recordings. They'd send the material off over east to get duplicated onto cassettes. And they were high-speed duplicated, and they sounded nothing like we recorded in the studio. And I was like, what the hell is all this about? You know, there's $1 million worth of studio equipment in Studio A at Planet, and it's coming back and it's just atrocious. And I phoned up the people in America and I said, "How much are these machines?" And they said they're $3.5 grand American each. I'm like, "Oh, okay." At the time, I think our dollar was like 60 cents or 50 cents or something. So it was a massive expenditure, but I took a bit of a punt and I ordered their duplication system. There was a master and I think 5 decks or something like that. It gave me the ability to do 10 cassettes at a time. But it was like recording on a reel-to-reel machine. They had the same specs as a reel-to-reel machine. So at that point, I started off the duplication side of the business, and that was in the back of Dad's shop.
That's a long answer, Mark.
There you go. He didn't do it. So there you go.
Okay, so you were doing tape duplication at your dad's shop.
Yeah.
TV repair shop,
Yeah, he
Atlas.
had the Atlas TV repairs.
Your mum had Atlas Records.
Yeah, that
was a
that
store.
had finished just prior to Dad starting the shop where I was. Dad used to do the TV repairs at the back of the record shop in the old Bones at Morley.
Okay.
And after the fire, Mum had the first fire. For those that know exactly what happened there, but there was the main fire which took out the Bones store. About 3 months later, there was another fire that took out the shop next door to Mum and Dad and damaged their shop. And Mum had actually decided at that point that she was going to close the shop anyway. She'd been doing it close to 10 years.
Yeah.
And she'd had enough. Dad had a brief sojourn into a food place out at near the old Bell place up at Belmont, and he'd had a deli there, and then he got back into the TV service again. That was what Dad really knew about.
So you went into his shop.
So at the back of his shop in Naranda, I started the cassette duplication part of it. So we had about 9 square metres there, I think, or something like that. And it was enough. Graham sent me masters from Planet.
Yeah.
We duplicated them for the bands at that point. Yeah.
So you moved to Planet Studios. What was the biggest order of cassettes for one band? Can you remember what in those days what it was?
There were several that were doing it. I mean, arguably, cassettes sold better than CDs have. There was a lot of... Our independent music market here seemed to suit cassettes. So there were some bands that we had that would be down at Fremantle that would sell 500 cassettes on a Saturday afternoon. But probably our biggest customer, I think, would be Kevin Bloody Wilson back in those days.
So you saw tapes move from, tapes to CDs.
Yeah.
How busy did you get during,
tapes, I reckon, we ended up manufacturing our own tapes and boxes and the whole kit and caboodle. It wasn't just like get a bunch of tapes and put stuff on it. We made the tapes to length and we duplicated them. In the course of, I'm guessing 12 to 15 years, we probably duplicated 2 million cassettes in Perth.
Because VHS went to DVD.
Yeah.
And you can help people restore anything. I know you can, old formats to new formats.
Yeah.
Do you want to give yourself a plug or anything like that?
Well, I'm a modest person.
This is free.
I mean, over time we've evolved like everybody has to, particularly in our industry. You've got to try and remain current. Yeah. So we started off doing cassettes. Cassettes became CDs. VHS became DVD. Yeah. DVD became Blu-ray, although Blu-ray in the independent sense never really took off here. There's USBs now. So we do all of that kind of stuff. And over the course of 30 years, we've learnt to do an awful lot of things. We transfer video, we transfer film, we restore audio, we get a lot of that kind of work.
And it's a family business, so your wife, Carol, your sister,
here.
Lindsay, your son.
My sister was working with us. My youngest boy, David, is a godsend, to be honest. My dad still helps us out.
Well,
it's a true family business.
He's nearly 90,
Yeah, he'll be 90 soon, and he's a lot like, well, I'm a lot like him. We love the technical side of things, and it's what keeps your brain going and stuff like that. So we're always looking for new stuff,
So music has always been in your life, one way or the other. Yeah. So, in your opinion, how has it changed?
I don't know. Mum and Dad had a record shop in the 50s, the first shop, before we came out to Australia. So I always grew up with music playing in the house. Mum was more contemporary music, pop music, but even then, the kind of the Ella Fitzgeralds and stuff like that. Dad was more jazz, big band jazz, and classical. So we heard everything at home. I suppose my earliest recollections would be the Beatles, probably, back then. So I've gone from the Beatles to what's on the radio now. I enjoy pretty much every type of music. I like innovation in music. Yeah. We're not seeing maybe as much of that. So I think that's probably one of the things that I find a bit hard in that area. But then also I like going to see great shows.
You're always
great
out
musicians.
there watching live music.
Yeah,
which is great.
I thoroughly enjoy it. And sometimes it's jazz, sometimes it's Fleetwood Mac. Sometimes it's pub legends at the Charles.
Yeah.
You know, I enjoy all of that kind of stuff. I think, you know, it's one of the good things about music in Perth is that we've got a wide variety of music that you can go and see. In some places, even San Francisco, the local music scene wasn't as vibrant as Perth.
Yeah.
You know,
I don't think there'd be many places in the world that were as vibrant as Perth, but
Mm.
technology has changed as well. Is that for the better, you think, or?
In some aspects, yes. You know, you can record things now that we didn't have a hope in hell of doing 10 years ago. You've got software now that enables you to do things that you couldn't do 12 months ago.
Yeah.
So from that perspective, we've got the ability to do more and more. Has it affected the creativity? I think in some aspects, yes.
Well, how did the music industry ever allow streaming for such a small price? You know, I mean, is that
why did they do it, or how did they let it happen? I think why they've done it is because there's certain big companies that see that they can monopolise the whole thing. Is it in the best interest of the musicians? No.
No.
Not at all.
Is it in the best interest of the people who own those companies and those shareholders? Yes.
Possibly, but even then, I mean, you look at companies like Apple, they don't make money out of the music, they make money out of the hardware that they sell.
Yeah.
Google, I'm not quite sure what the hell Google is about.
Yeah.
They're pretty clever.
Who makes money out of the music now?
Nobody's making money out of the music.
Yeah.
So how do you foster new talent? I mean, if you go back, say, to the 80s with music, and you had an artist like Michael Jackson that sold a phenomenal amount of material, it didn't all go to him. A lot of it might have gone to CBS or Sony or whoever it was, and that enabled them to spend money on new talent.
Yeah.
So they could speculate on artists that maybe weren't going to sell, or maybe they weren't going to sell anywhere near as much as some of the other ones. So you could see these artists get fostered a wide variety of material that had good budgets to record properly. Now you look at it and you think, well, where's that money going to come from? Is it coming from people sitting at home themselves spending money on their own
But it's
career?
certainly not being redirected into new musicians, is it?
No.
So I know you see a lot of live music, right?
Yeah.
We see that you're on Facebook, you're out there all the time, right? So what should happen to save live music, you think, in your opinion? What is it? Do you have an idea about that, or?
There's a few things that I'd like to see happen, and I think it's going to come from a variety of different sources. I think venue owners need to see the value in it for a start. So there needs to be a bit of an education process with venue owners that music is a valid form of entertainment, and they seem to have lost that side of things. I'd like to see a bit of a survey done through one of the unis maybe that kind of works out where the youth are happy to spend their money. At the moment, they've got so many more things they can do. They can spend it on PlayStation games, they can go to a burger bar, they can go see a band, they can go to the movies, they can go to a cafe. So the little bit of spare money that they've got, how much disposable money have they got? And then you've got to see, how do you get a share of that money? Instead of seeing a big event, okay, I went to see Fleetwood Mac. Huge event. One of the biggest things about that I was thrilled about was seeing the number of young people there that were singing and dancing and having a great time to that stuff that came out literally 30 years before they were born. So there is that connection between music, but why does it take a big event with a big budget, with a huge production, to motivate them to go out and do it, when, quite honestly, there's stuff on their doorstep that they can go and see for next to nothing?
There's a lot of good musicians.
You know,
in Perth.
there's some awesome stuff going on in this town, and it needs to be supported. If we don't support it, it's going to disappear.
Yeah.
You know, I look at organisations like Wham. I think with an organisation like Wham, they've got to promote music as a valid form of entertainment, not a specific area of music, but an area of go out and see music, support music.
So you're not going to say anything we have to edit? So the profile, right? Why did you let Alan talk you into doing this? What was
I know,
the
he
reason?
caught me on a bad day, I think. Or was it a good day? I don't know. Alan and I have known each other for a long time. And it struck a chord with me. You know, we're all a little bit older than we were.
Is that a pun?
Well, it might be.
Struck a chord.
Or a paradiddle in his case. But he was thinking along similar lines as I was. We'd done a couple of tentative film shoots with people talking about their musical life journey. And as we all know, there are people that are not doing so well at the moment, and there are other people that are still actively working in the industry. I saw it as an opportunity, really, that we need to document what's going on before it's too late. You know, sadly, we know that you know, we're losing people every year, and we really want to capture their stories because they've got a lot to tell. Not only that, the younger kids coming through into the industry should know how vibrant the industry was, and that potentially it can be that vibrant again, to give them some motivation to keep going with what they're doing, other than working at a bar and earning $50. You know, that's just criminal in my view. You know, so, and I think it's part of that education process to everybody. And I think it's vital.
So I got asked to interview people, and so stepping into an unknown territory for myself, but I've heard great stories. I've heard a lot of history. I've seen a lot of people come together and a lot of camaraderie within the Perth music industry, which has just been sensational and really good. So we've been looking for funding. We've hit brick walls everywhere we've gone. So why do you think that hasn't happened? Why do you think, okay, we know all these hundreds of people, thousands of people that want to see the documentation, they want to see the history. People go, yes, you know, it'd be great to archive it all. Why can't we get any money out of the government? Why do you think today's government won't give us a cent and don't value this?
I don't know, maybe it's not politically sensitive enough. You know, you look at things like GoFundMe campaigns. If it's somebody that's, you know, got a health issue, you know, there's funds that will get raised. If it's something a bit quirky, or, you know, things like that that strikes interest in the greater public, then they'll do it. I don't know why it is that the government don't see it, but I see it in other similar areas that we work in. You know, we transfer a lot of old films, for example. We get work from the state library. They have a similar issue. They've got miles and miles or kilometres of stuff sitting on shelves that's basically rotting away. Why is it rotting away? Because they don't give any precedent to actually digitising that work. There's no proactive process in looking at the material, our history, and going, we need to start at the beginning and work our way through, digitise all this stuff so everybody has got something to look at in the future. And we're a part of that. But there's no proactive program. The government's and it's not just a state government, it's federally as well, don't really look at things like that and value it. Whereas, you know, there's countries like Fiji are digitising everything they've got. Papers, you know, video, audio. France are doing an active program in digitising their history because they see the value in the culture. I don't know why we don't here. Are we too young a country that we don't value that knowledge yet? It's quite frustrating, really, because
Massively.
you know what? This material is going to go. There's 65 years of audio digitising in the library. There's about 90 years of video, and there's 160 years at the moment of paper documentation to be digitised. If we don't start, it's not going to be around. There won't be the people to do it with the knowledge. There won't be the equipment to do it because the equipment is starting to deteriorate and you can't get video machines anymore and things like that. And there'll be the lack of the will to do it. Well, you know, there's not a great will to do it at the moment, apparently.
There is for us because we've sat here for 3 years not getting paid or anything, and that's not to make us look any better or bigger. But
no, but we realise the importance of it, and maybe by setting an example, other places will realise that as well.
The future of the profile then, having said all that?
Well, Gary, you and I know that we've got 200 people on the list, and we stopped adding to the list because we went, okay, that's another 4 or 5 years
That'll
worth
be
of work.
1,000 easy.
You know, there is so much to do, and that's before we get past the 90s. And we know what this town has done as far as music's concerned from the 90s till 2019. There's a vast amount of stuff. Somehow we have to keep going. It's vital. We both have mutual friends that are not well. We've got to get their stories. There's people up in Broome and Port Hedland and down south in Bunbury and Bustleton and places like that that can't make it here. We need to go and interview them and get their story because they've got vital bits of information in this jigsaw puzzle that we're putting together about the whole of the WA music scene. And that, you know, so many people from here have gone east as well. And they've played in national and international bands and things like that. It's not like it's just about Perth. It's about the people here that have got significant talent that need to be recognised. And one way or another, we've got to keep doing it, you know.
Okay, so let's move sideways a bit. Favourite band of all time?
Out of the hundreds?
I
don't know. I guess the Beatles.
The Beatles?
Yeah, I think they're the most influential band that I've seen in my lifetime.
So, Mark, I know you've never heard this question before. If you were stranded on a deserted island, and you can only take one album with you, what album would that be?
I'll hit you with something you probably haven't heard before. I like concept albums. The Pink Floyds and Yes and all of those are some of my favourite bands. But there was a band out of the UK called Camel. And they brought out an album around about 1975, I think. Could have been 75, and it was called The Snow Goose. I've worn out 2 copies of the vinyl of that and my CD. It was a fascinating story. It was about the World War II. It was about them going across the English Channel and picking up people, and the snow goose was the symbol of that. I don't know what happened to the band after that album. I remember seeing them, I think it was the Birmingham Odeon or the Birmingham Hippodrome or something like that. I saw them do the album there, and it was just fantastic. Yeah, it was a good album. So you'll have to go and listen to that one.
Well, it's the first time I've ever heard that one.
I thought so.
Right. So what was your favourite TV show growing up?
Doctor Who.
Doctor Who.
Yeah.
Perfect
I gave
beard.
my album away with the Daleks on it.
Oh, no.
Yeah, it actually went to my sister's ex-husband in San Francisco. He was a mad Doctor Who fan, and I think it was from 1965.
Exterminate.
Yeah, it was. It was all of that stuff. Gave it to him. Yeah.
So, what unfulfilled ambitions do you have? Do you have any?
Always. I'd love to have played more football.
Too late.
Yeah, probably. Might join the seniors club with you, mate.
With me?
Yeah, we'll go and we'll start a new team. I have a project that's on the go at the moment. It's Indigenous educational program, cultural program. We're almost at negotiation stage with that. I think potentially it could be a very, very significant step forward for Australia. I'd love to see that happen. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Do you collect anything?
Have you seen my study?
Oh, look,
no, you haven't seen my study. Yeah.
I know Carol often has a go at you about...
Yeah. No.
you don't get rid of anything, do you?
No.
You just keep everything.
Memories are what makes you the person you are, you know, and sometimes our memory's not as good. We need a reminder. So, I don't know, we've got 20,000 masters here.
Yep.
That's one thing. Reel-to-reel, electronic gear. I've got a lot of books at home. I love books, technical books and all sorts of stuff. I've got my original football albums from 1965 with Man United, not Newcastle.
Okay, stop the show. You want to talk about Man United and this?
No, I don't.
Not even from Manchester. Like,
no, I'm not.
Most
I'm a
people
Brummie.
who are Manchester fans, they're not even from the place. So
I know,
what?
I know, mate.
I don't get that.
It's just magical. Yeah. I mean, I play. I won't tell you yet.
When I used to support Collingwood when I came to Australia, because Perth didn't have a team. But as soon as Perth had a team, I'm from Perth.
Yeah.
I'll go for the Eagles.
Yeah.
I was born in Newcastle. I'll
So
go
did
for
I.
Newcastle.
I know.
I mean, it's,
Mate, I was born in Birmingham. Would you go for Birmingham City? No, you wouldn't.
What about Aston Villa?
No, not even them.
No.
Dad supported West Brom.
Or West Brom?
Wolverhampton Wanderers were doing all right
Down
for
the
a
road.
while. Yeah, they were doing all right for a while. I actually played against Aston Villa one time.
Did you?
Yeah. When I played soccer.
What sort of music was it?
No, it was football.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, no, see, there's things about me you don't know, Gary.
Okay. What would you put on your gravestone?
I'm not done yet.
You're not done yet?
Yeah.
Okay.
You know that.
Yes, I'm done.
Yeah. No.
Do you live in a white house?
No.
No?
No, I don't. No.
What colour is your house?
Yeah, it's kind of creamy coloured, actually.
I was going to ask, is there something we don't know about you, but you just told us you played against Aston Villa.
Yeah, I did. Yeah, that was good, actually. When we came out here in '69, as you do with, at that, you kind of meet up with other like-minded people, and we used to play football against one of the houses that was being built across the road in Morley. And this guy came up one day and said, "Hey, you guys, do you want to start a football club?" And we're like, yeah, why not? We're playing up and down the street, and so we might as well do that. So we started the original Morley Football Club.
Yeah. Which became Morley Windmills.
It eventually amalgamated with Windmills and became Morley Windmills. So that was 1970.
We used to thrash them. I played for Bayswater.
Well,
Morley were just the easy.
Not until I became captain and we won the league that year. And then what year? I think it was year 1 of high school or year 2 of high school, 1972 anyway. We went back to England. So my education was quite disrupted by
Why did you go back to England?
Mum wanted to go back.
Yeah.
Yeah, she never really had settled here. She missed friends and family and stuff like that. And she, the kids were still at school, so she spent a lot of time at home on her own. Dad was working for Hills Telefix at the time. And Mum, she eventually got some part-time work. She worked at the PMG, which is in Forest Place. and used to drive from Morley into Forest Place. I don't know, she did it in about 13 minutes. There was never any traffic lights in those days. And but she got quite lonely. She was doing international phone calls, and back in the days when you plugged it in, and she'd have Alan
They were called
Bond wanting,
telephonists.
yeah,
My mum was one as well.
Yeah, and she used to do the international and the ship to shore stuff, and but she never really kind of settled. And I remember when Dad bought the house in Morley, it was an only 4-bedroom house in Morley at the time, and the other one was in Sorrento, and we went up to Sorrento, and the house was literally in the middle of the bush.
Yeah, it would have been.
And there was goannas walking around, and Mum's like, I haven't travelled halfway across the world to walk around in the bush, you know. So we ended up with the house in Morley, and they paid $18,000 for it, and we sold it in '72 for $17,000. Went back to England. We got on the train to go from London to Birmingham, and Mum said, "Don't want to be here," and we're like, "This is not the right time to say that." Like literally, we hadn't got to the tunnel in North London, you know, and it's like Dad was still here because he was finalising the sale of the house. He was coming back a couple of weeks later. We were going to stay at my nan's house. So we get back from literally half an hour after landing. It was like spending time and effort and money. Well, Dad got a new business going to get the money to come back. We came back in '75. The same house in Morley was $56,000. It had tripled in those 3 years. So they ended up buying a place, or we lived in Osborne Park for a short period of time, and then they bought the place where Mum and Dad were and where Dad is now in. Well, it's kind of a stone's throw from the old house in Morley. It's just one of those things that you do, you know. It was quite common for families to do that back then. You know, there were several of my school friends that had gone back to England at that time. In fact, there was a guy called Freddie Iredale from Newcastle, a great soccer player. He went
Freddie.
back as well. Yeah, he was
So,
good.
you're a family man.
Yeah.
We're just finishing up, Al. You're a family man, so you've just recently had grandchildren?
We've got a 2-year-old and a 6-7-week-old grandson.
So how does that make you feel?
Oh, mate, it's the best thing.
Yeah.
You know, you look at those kids and you think, bloody hell, you know, that came from us. You know, Dad's 90, I'm 60, my oldest boy is 30, and his youngest one is 0. There's 30 years between all of us.
Yeah.
That's brilliant. Noah, the 2-year-old, he's a godsend. He's already looking after the other one. The other one, as you know, other people don't know, but, you know, within a week and a half of being born, had viral meningitis in the hospital, you know. So there's stuff that goes on with that throws that normal kind of routine process out of the window, and you're like, oh, okay, what do we do now? You know, so we looked at that side of things, and it's different from your own kids. You would know it's a completely different feel. You want to already. I find myself sitting there with Noah and looking at a screen and doing stuff and writing stuff with him and talking to him. And trying to get impart little bits of knowledge all the time without being, you know, boring. But I want them to succeed in life. We know that things are different and they're tougher than they have been for some time.
They're different.
You know, it's stuff is very different, and the things you see on a daily basis that are evolving with this new digital world that we live in, yes, it's got benefits, but you know, they've just sacked a whole bunch of bartenders in Las Vegas and replaced them with robots, you know, and they thought that people would feel funny about that, but they're actually embracing it. So it'll go from all of the casinos over there to the other chain stores and stuff like that. So where are people going to work if this keeps happening?
Don't know.
Where are they going to get the money to spend on entertainment?
I probably
Where are
won't
they
see
going to
it
get their
because I
music?
won't be here. So.
Mate, I think it's happening now. It's only going to evolve faster. They're talking about artificial intelligence that is already able to read legal contracts and replace some lawyers.
That's probably not a bad thing. Man,
Snap. But artificial intelligence is already able to write coding, computer coding. So currently in Australia, we've got a thing where the government, particularly the state government, are pushing this whole kind of mantra about get more kids doing coding. Well, why would they do coding when they're going to be competing against the Philippines and India, where they're charging $8 an hour for that kind of work? And artificial intelligence itself is able to do the coding. So there's not even going to be any work for them. Well done, Al.
He's just throwing the bell. No.
So what kind of work is going to be available? We can't all be entertainers if there's no people with the money to do it. If they can't do it. I hope somebody has the vision to see through all of this stuff and work out a plan before it gets to the point where we're all wondering what to do next.
There ain't no plan, I don't think.
There's a few people that have got some very clever ideas, but it's got to be embraced now. You know, not in 10 years' time.
Too late.
Too late then.
Trump. He's just written Trump. Look, don't forget to subscribe to the profile on YouTube. Please like our videos. Comment, let us know what you think, who we should interview next.
We've got a list, haven't we, Gary?
Oh, we've got hundreds and hundreds on that list. So, Mark, you know, without you, this wouldn't be possible. I just want to also thank Aaron Devenish.
It's a team thing, actually, Gary.
I want to thank Aaron Devenish because he's not on the set. He's recently started doing the editing. Strawny over here.
Strawny. That
Simo,
bloke over there.
Simo, who's the producer, normally sits over there. He's now behind the camera, so there's some funny shots. And move the camera onto him now because
no.
He's moving. You just moved it over that way. So anyway, look, thanks for your effort.
It's a pleasure, Gary. I mean, it's a team effort that we do here. I think the people that we have interviewed understand why we're doing it. The people we haven't got to yet, I think, will appreciate why we're doing it when we do get to them. Hopefully somewhere along the line, something helps us financially to be able to do it. And it's not because we want to make money out of it. It's because we want to produce a better program and we want to produce more programs more often. At the moment, we're limited because we have to stop the work that we're all doing to be able to put these together.
Sorry,
I mean, it's all the stuff that is an actual cost that we're all absorbing, not just our time. So hopefully there'll be a godfather somewhere that wants to help out. Certainly, the music industry itself it warrants it. Maybe the Cultural Heritage Department or the Department of Arts. I don't know.
Who knows? Look, my the caterer's waiting for me to feed me. The driver's waiting for me to take me home.
Mate, you've got a long drive.
Well,
that Uber driver's patient, isn't he, mate?
I've got a driver and a car, and I like the massage and everything I get, the shower and all that sort of stuff before the show, the makeup artist.
Well, you deserve it, mate. You're the
Thank you.
Star of the show.
No worries. Look, thanks again, once again, for joining us. That's it. End of the show for this week. Thanks, Mark, for sitting there and being a good sport with us. And thanks for all your knowledge and everything you've done for the industry. I'm sure that hundreds of people around that would want to thank you for everything you've done.
There's a lot going on. Thanks, mate.
We'll see you next time. Thank you.
Off in 3, 2, 1.
Oh, now you've got to pack it all up.
There we go.
At ProCopy, we can transfer audio to CD, make CD, DVD and Blu-ray copies, transfer video to DVD, Blu-ray or HD, digitise slides and photos and supply custom USBs. You can see more details at procopy.com.au or call us on 089375 3902 for more information.